The Galactic Empire had watched Earth for centuries. From their distant homeworlds, they had seen humanity evolve from primitive beings into a modern civilization. But even with all their advancements, the Empire didn't see humans as a threat. The Empire ruled over hundreds of star systems, controlling countless planets. Their technology was far beyond what most species could ever dream of. To them, humanity was just another small species on a single planet. They believed humans could never challenge the might of the Empire. This arrogance would become their greatest mistake. The leaders of the Empire were confident, almost too confident. They had conquered countless worlds before and seen the rise and fall of many civilizations. Earth was no different to them. They looked down on humans, calling them weak and disorganized. After all, humans had fought many wars among themselves, divided by their nations and politics. How could such a chaotic species ever pose a threat to the Galactic Empire? The Empire decided it was time to expand into the solar system, certain that humans would either surrender or be easily crushed. The Empire sent their fleet to Earth without fear. This fleet wasn't their strongest, just a typical group of warships they used for controlling smaller planets. The Empire didn't think they needed anything more. After all, how could humans, with their primitive technology, ever hope to stand up to the Empire's powerful fleet? It was supposed to be a simple mission: show up, demand Earth's surrender, and add another planet to the Empire's control. But things didn't go as planned. When the Empire's ships arrived in the solar system, they were met with silence. The humans didn't welcome them, and they didn't show fear. Instead, Earth's nations stood united, something the Empire had not expected. Humans had been preparing for the day when an alien race might try to take their planet. Over the years, humanity had advanced in ways that the Empire had overlooked. Their scientists, military, and leaders had all worked together to protect Earth from outside threats. And now, that day had come. The Empire sent a message to Earth, demanding their surrender. They warned the humans of the consequences if they didn't comply. The message was cold and arrogant, stating that the Empire had taken over many worlds, and Earth would be no different. If the humans didn't surrender, the Empire would destroy their defenses and take the planet by force. But humans were not afraid. Instead of fear, there was resolve. Earth's leaders responded with a clear message: "We will not surrender." This response shocked the Empire's commanders. They had never expected humans to refuse their demand. In the past, most species either surrendered immediately or were too weak to put up a fight. But humans were different. The Empire's fleet was ordered to move closer to Earth and prepare for an attack. They believed that a show of force would make humans change their minds. They thought that once the humans saw the Empire's warships in action, they would beg for mercy. But again, the Empire was wrong. Humanity had prepared for this moment for years. As the Empire's ships moved closer, Earth's defense systems came online. Satellite weapons, orbital cannons, and missile launchers were all activated. The humans had built a network of advanced technology to defend their planet. The Empire's ships, while powerful, were not prepared for such resistance. They had never imagined that a single planet like Earth could have such advanced defense systems. The Galactic Empire's arrogance had blinded them to the truth. They had underestimated humanity from the start, assuming that Earth was just another weak world. But now, as their fleet encountered unexpected resistance, the Empire began to realize that they had made a terrible mistake. Earth was not going to be an easy conquest. The humans were not going to surrender. And this was just the beginning. The Galactic Empire's big mistake was thinking they could take Earth without a fight. But humanity was ready, and they were about to show the Empire just how wrong they were. The Galactic Empire's fleet hung silently above Earth's atmosphere, their sleek warships reflecting the light of the distant sun. They waited for a response from the humans, expecting either submission or fear. The Empire had sent their demand: surrender or face destruction. But what they got was far from what they expected. Instead of cowering in fear, The humans replied with a single defiant message: "We will not surrender." On board the Empire's command ship, the high-ranking officers stared at the human response with disbelief. Never had they seen such boldness from a species they considered primitive. Most civilizations the Empire had encountered surrendered at the mere sight of their ships. It was always the same story. Lesser species would either beg for mercy or be too afraid to fight back. But not the humans. They had made it clear that they were not going to be intimidated. The Empire's commander, a stern and cold figure, was not pleased. He had expected Earth to be added to the Empire's long list of conquests without much effort. Now he had to deal with the unexpected problem of resistance. The commander was confident that the humans could be brought to their knees, but it would require a show of force. "Prepare the fleet for attack," the commander ordered. "Let's remind these humans who they are dealing with." As the Empire's warships moved into attack formation, Earth's defenses came alive. Satellites armed with powerful weapons shifted into position, ready to intercept any hostile actions. On the surface, the leaders of Earth's United Nations were already in emergency meetings, coordinating a defense strategy. The time for talking was over, and now they had to act. First contact with the Empire had started as a standoff, but now it was turning into a full-blown conflict. The humans had been preparing for this day, though most of them had hoped it would never come. For decades, they had worked in secret to build a defense system that could protect their planet from an alien invasion. They had studied their own technology, advanced it, and created weapons that could rival any known in the galaxy. They didn't want war, but they wouldn't allow their planet to be taken without a fight. As the Empire's ships moved closer to Earth, their sensors picked up something unexpected. The humans had launched their own fleet of ships, a collection of advanced warships designed to defend their homeworld. These ships weren't as large as the Empire's, but they were fast, agile, and packed with weaponry that surprised the Empire's fleet. The first shots were fired. The Empire launched a barrage of missiles and energy blasts, expecting to cripple Earth's defenses in the first wave. But the humans were ready. Earth's ships dodged and weaved, avoiding many of the attacks while firing back with precision. The orbital defense stations opened fire, sending a hail of powerful beams toward the Empire's fleet. The Empire's ships, built for domination, were suddenly struggling against an enemy they had underestimated. The commander watched the battle unfold from his command ship, his expression hardening. This wasn't how things were supposed to go. The humans were putting up far more resistance than he had imagined. For every Empire ship that fired on Earth's forces, the humans responded with equal force, matching their attacks blow for blow. "What is the status of their defenses?" the commander demanded. "Stronger than we expected, sir," replied one of his officers. "Their ships are highly advanced, and their orbital weapons are causing heavy damage to our fleet." The commander clenched his fists. This was supposed to be an easy conquest, not a full-scale war. How had the humans managed to build such powerful defenses without the Empire noticing? It didn't matter now. The Empire couldn't afford to back down. Their reputation was on the line, and the galaxy was watching. "Continue the attack," the commander growled. "We will not leave until Earth is under our control." On Earth, the people watched the battle unfold in the skies above. News networks broadcasted live footage of the fight, showing alien ships clashing with Earth's defenses. The sight of human warships standing their ground against the Empire filled many with a sense of pride. For the first time, humanity was united against a common enemy. The Empire had underestimated humanity's resolve. First contact was supposed to be the beginning of Earth's submission, but instead, it was turning into the Empire's first real problem. The humans weren't backing down, and now, the Empire had a war on its hands. The sky over Earth was filled with chaos. The once serene blue of the atmosphere was now lit up with explosions and streaks of energy. The Galactic Empire's fleet had moved in for the attack, expecting a swift victory. Instead, they were met with fierce resistance from humanity's defenses. The first stage of the battle had ended in a surprising stalemate, and now both sides were preparing for the fight to escalate. The Empire's ships, massive and intimidating, fired their weapons at Earth's defense systems and space fighters. Their lasers cut through space like lightning, targeting everything in their path. The Empire's strategy was to overwhelm Earth's defenses with sheer force. They believed that if they could destroy enough of the humans' defenses, the rest would fall into place. But they had underestimated the tenacity and resourcefulness of the humans. On Earth, the situation was tense. Leaders and military commanders watched the battle unfold through live feeds from space. They saw their defensive satellites and space fighters struggling against the Empire's powerful weapons. But they also saw something encouraging. Humanity was fighting back with everything they had. The human space fighters darted around the Empire's ships, firing their own advanced weapons with precision. These fighters were not as large or as heavily armed as the Empire's ships, but they were fast and agile. They used hit-and-run tactics, striking the Empire's ships and then quickly retreating before the enemy could respond. This approach was proving effective, as it disrupted the Empire's attack formations and caused significant damage. Back on Earth, ground forces were also on high alert. Cities and military bases had been put on lockdown, and people were preparing for a possible invasion. The fear of an attack on their homes was real, but so was their determination to defend their planet. Citizens were ready to do whatever it took to protect their world from the invaders. In space, the battle raged on. The Empire's fleet was forced to regroup as they faced unexpected resistance. Their initial confidence was starting to wane. The humans' technology was better than they had anticipated, and their tactics were proving difficult to counter. The Empire's ships, designed for straightforward combat and domination, were struggling to adapt to the new kind of warfare being waged against them. The Empire's commander, watching from his flagship, was growing frustrated. His plans were not going as expected. The humans were proving to be a tougher opponent than he had imagined. He ordered his fleet to increase their efforts, using heavier firepower and more coordinated attacks. "Push harder," he commanded. "We cannot let these humans think they can win." Despite the Empire's increased efforts, the humans refused to back down. They had trained for years for this moment, and their preparation was paying off. Earth's defensive systems, which had been designed with the possibility of an alien invasion in mind, were holding strong. The humans were not just defending their planet. They were fighting for their very survival. As the battle continued, the Empire's fleet began to experience problems. The humans' attacks were causing significant damage to their ships. Some were forced to retreat to make repairs, while others were lost completely. The Empire's ships were no longer the unstoppable force they had once been. The tide of the battle was beginning to shift. The commander's frustration grew as he saw his forces struggling. The once confident Empire was now facing a real challenge. The humans were not the weak, unprepared species they had believed them to be. The fight was not going to be quick or easy. The Empire was learning the hard way that underestimating humanity had been a grave mistake. On Earth, the people watched with a mix of fear and hope. The battle in space was a reminder of the danger they faced, but it was also a testament to their resilience. Humanity was fighting back, showing that they could stand up to even the most powerful empire in the galaxy. The fight had truly begun. The Galactic Empire had expected an easy conquest, but instead they were facing a determined and capable opponent. The battle for Earth was far from over, and both sides were now fully engaged in a struggle that would determine the fate of the planet. The battle above Earth had intensified. The Galactic Empire's fleet, once confident in their power, was now facing a determined and relentless resistance from humanity. Earth's defenders were no longer just holding their ground. They were striking back with everything they had. As the Empire's ships hovered above Earth, their weapons continued to rain down on the planet's defenses. But the humans were ready. They had anticipated that the Empire would not give up easily, so they had prepared a counterattack. Earth's space fighters, having regrouped and resupplied, were back in action, and they were more organized than ever. The humans' counterattack began with a series of well-coordinated strikes. Earth's space fighters, now working together in squadrons, launched a series of rapid, precise attacks on the Empire's fleet. Their new tactics involved targeting weak points in the Empire's ships and using their speed to avoid the enemy's heavy fire. The Empire's ships, though powerful, were finding it difficult to defend against the nimble human fighters. In the control rooms on Earth, the mood was tense but hopeful. Military leaders and scientists watched the battle unfold, their eyes fixed on the screens showing the fight in space. They could see their defenses holding strong and their fighters making a difference. The human counterattack was not just a defense, it was a powerful offensive that began to turn the tide of the battle. On the ground, Earth's leaders coordinated their response with remarkable efficiency. They knew that every second counted, and they worked tirelessly to ensure that their forces had the support they needed. The people of Earth, although frightened, were inspired by the bravery of their defenders. Many volunteered to help in any way they could, whether it was working in emergency services or assisting with the war effort in other ways. The Empire's commander, watching from his flagship, was growing increasingly frustrated. The humans were not only defending their planet, they were fighting back with a vengeance. The commander had underestimated their resolve and strength. He had expected the humans to crumble under the Empire's superior firepower, but instead, they were proving to be formidable opponents. The Empire's ships began to suffer significant damage as human fighters and defense systems continued their relentless attacks. The Empire's commanders issued orders to regroup and counter the new threat, but it was clear that the human counterattack had disrupted their plans. The once dominant fleet was now struggling to maintain its offensive. One of the most significant moments of the counterattack came when a squadron of human fighters managed to launch a surprise assault on one of the Empire's command ships. Using their agility and precision, they penetrated the ship's defenses and inflicted heavy damage. The command ship, a key component of the Empire's fleet, was now crippled and vulnerable. This victory was a turning point in the battle, demonstrating that humans could not only defend their planet, but also strike effectively at the heart of the enemy's forces. As the battle continued, the humans maintained their pressure on the Empire. They used every advantage they had, from advanced technology to clever tactics. The Empire's once imposing fleet was now facing a relentless onslaught that it had not anticipated. The humans' determination and resourcefulness were becoming apparent, and the Empire's initial confidence was slowly being replaced with uncertainty. The struggle was far from over, but the humans' counterattack was making a significant impact. The Empire's forces were being pushed back, and their ships were taking heavier losses than they had ever expected. The humans had shown that they were not just a small, insignificant species, they were a force to be reckoned with. On Earth, the mood was a mixture of tension and hope. The people knew that the fight was far from over, but they took comfort in the knowledge that their defenders were fighting hard and making a difference. The battle above their planet had become a symbol of human resilience and courage. The Galactic Empire had thought they could easily conquer Earth, but they were now facing a fierce and determined opponent. Humanity had hit back with a force that the Empire had not anticipated, and the battle for Earth was far from decided. The battle above Earth had reached a critical point. The Galactic Empire's once confident fleet was now reeling from the relentless counterattacks by human defenders. What had started as a straightforward mission of conquest had turned into a nightmare for the Empire. The situation was rapidly spiraling out of control, and panic was starting to set in among the Empire's ranks. The Empire's command ship, a massive vessel at the heart of their fleet, was the nerve center of their operations. Inside, the atmosphere was tense. Officers and commanders, who had once been sure of their victory, now faced a grim reality. The human counterattacks were far more effective than they had anticipated. The Empire's ships were taking heavy damage, and their once strong offensive was faltering. The Empire's commander, a tall and imposing figure, paced nervously in his control room. His face was set in a grim expression as he reviewed the data from the battle. The screens displayed images of damaged ships and reports of mounting losses. The Empire had expected to crush the humans quickly, but instead they were facing a determined and resilient opponent. "We need to reassess our strategy," the commander said, his voice tight with frustration. "The humans are fighting back with far more strength than we anticipated. We can't continue like this." One of the officers, trying to stay calm, responded, "We're facing significant resistance. The human ships are more advanced than our scouts reported. Their tactics are disrupting our attack formations." The commander's frustration grew. He had underestimated humanity's capabilities, and now his fleet was paying the price. The humans' advanced technology and clever tactics had caused severe damage to the Empire's ships. The once powerful fleet was struggling to maintain its position, and the Empire's leaders were beginning to worry about the outcome of the battle. In the heat of the moment, the Empire's leaders ordered their remaining ships to regroup and prepare for a new plan of attack. They hoped that by concentrating their forces, they could break through the human defenses and turn the tide of the battle. But even as they issued these orders, the sense of panic was palpable. On Earth, the mood was one of cautious optimism. The humans had seen their defenders pushing back against the Empire's ships, and the tide seemed to be turning in their favor. Earth's leaders continued to coordinate their efforts, making sure that their forces had the resources they needed to keep up the fight. The resilience of humanity was becoming a key factor in the struggle for their planet. Back in space, the Empire's fleet began to experience more setbacks. As the ships regrouped, the human defenders took advantage of the opportunity to strike even harder. They targeted the weakened parts of the Empire's fleet, causing further damage and confusion. The Empire's attempts to regain control only seemed to make the situation worse. The Empire's commander, seeing the continued failure of their new strategy, felt the weight of the situation pressing down on him. The battle was not going according to plan, and the Empire's reputation was at stake. Their initial confidence was being replaced by a growing sense of desperation. The Empire's leaders held an emergency meeting to discuss their options. The once quick decisions and confident strategies were now replaced by heated arguments and worried faces. They debated whether to escalate the conflict further, but the risk of total failure was becoming clear. The thought of retreat was starting to creep into their discussions. On Earth, the people watched the unfolding battle with a mix of hope and anxiety. They knew that the fight was far from over, but the sight of the Empire's fleet struggling was a sign of their resilience. The human defenders continued to hold their ground, and the Empire's panic was becoming evident. As the battle dragged on, the Empire's once great fleet was now a shadow of its former self. The humans had shown that they were not only capable of defending their planet, but also of turning the tables on their invaders. The Galactic Empire's panic was a clear sign that their grand plans of conquest were unraveling. The struggle for Earth was far from finished, but the Empire's loss of composure was a turning point in the conflict. Humanity had proven that they were not to be underestimated, and the fight for their world had become a symbol of their strength and determination. The battle above Earth had reached its most intense phase. The Galactic Empire and humanity were locked in a fierce struggle, with both sides giving everything they had. The once clear skies were now filled with the fiery trails of lasers and missiles, and the hum of spacecraft engines created a constant, throbbing background noise. The Empire's fleet, though battered and struggling, was still a formidable force. Their ships were massive and heavily armed, designed for overwhelming power, but the human defenders had proven to be a tough and resourceful enemy. They were not just defending their planet, they were fighting for their survival. On Earth, the atmosphere was tense as people watched the battle unfold from the safety of their shelters and emergency centers. News networks provided constant updates, showing live footage of the fight in space. Every victory for the human forces was met with cheers and hope, while each setback was a reminder of the danger they faced. In space, the decisive moment of the battle began. The Empire, desperate to turn the tide, had concentrated their remaining forces into a massive offensive. They launched a coordinated attack with everything they had, aiming to break through Earth's defenses once and for all. The Empire's ships formed a tight formation, unleashing a torrent of energy beams and missiles toward Earth's remaining defense structures. Human commanders, prepared for this moment, had also concentrated their forces. They knew this battle would be the turning point, and they had made sure their ships and defense systems were ready. The human space fighters, now seasoned by the ongoing conflict, took their positions. They moved with precision and determination, ready to defend their planet against the Empire's final push. The battle that ensued was a clash of titans. The Empire's ships, though powerful, were now facing a coordinated and relentless defense. The humans used every advantage they had, launching counterattacks with fierce intensity. Their strategy was to strike at the Empire's weak points while avoiding the concentrated fire from their adversaries. One of the key moments of the battle came when a group of human fighters managed to break through the Empire's outer defenses. They targeted the vulnerable spots in the Empire's formation, focusing on their command ships and heavy artillery. The Empire's once imposing fleet was now facing serious damage. The human fighters, though smaller in size, were making a significant impact. The Empire's command ship, still at the center of their operations, was taking a heavy beating. The Empire's commander, observing from his command room, saw his flagship sustaining severe damage. The once proud ship was now struggling, its systems failing one by one. The commander's frustration and desperation were evident as he realized that their grand plans were unraveling. On Earth, the intensity of the battle was palpable. People held their breath as they watched the live feeds, hoping for a victory. The human defenders were fighting with everything they had, and the signs of progress were beginning to show. The Empire's once unshakable advance was being slowed, and the humans' relentless resistance was taking its toll. The climax of the battle came when the human forces, through a combination of skillful maneuvering and strategic attacks, managed to cripple the Empire's command ship. The flagship, a symbol of the Empire's might, was now severely damaged and vulnerable. This was a major blow to the Empire, and the loss of their command ship led to confusion and disarray among their remaining forces. As the Empire's fleet began to retreat, the human defenders continued their assault. The once powerful Empire was now on the defensive, their ships struggling to escape the relentless attacks. The humans had achieved a major victory, pushing back the Empire's forces and securing their planet from immediate threat. The battle above Earth had been fierce and brutal, but humanity had emerged victorious. The Empire's grand plans of conquest had been thwarted, and the humans had shown that they could stand up to even the most powerful forces in the galaxy. The victory was a testament to their strength, resilience, and determination. As the dust settled and the Empire's fleet withdrew, Earth's defenders celebrated their hard-won triumph. The battle had been a turning point in the conflict, and the humans had proven that they were not to be underestimated. The fight for Earth was far from over, but the victory was a clear sign that humanity was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. With the Empire's fleet retreating from Earth, the battle was over, but the impact of the conflict was only beginning to sink in. The struggle for survival had brought humanity together in ways that had once seemed impossible. The war had revealed a unity and strength among people that had been hidden beneath the surface for years. In the wake of the battle, the global atmosphere was filled with a mix of relief and determination. Earth's defenders had fought bravely, but now it was time for the world to heal and rebuild. Leaders from every nation gathered to discuss the next steps. Their focus was not just on recovering from the damage, but also on ensuring that humanity stayed united and prepared for any future threats. The war had shown the world that their strength lay in their unity. The different nations, once divided by borders and differences, had come together to defend their planet. The experience had forged new alliances and strengthened existing ones. Countries that had previously been at odds found common ground in their shared struggle for survival. They realized that their survival depended on working together, not just in times of crisis, but in everyday life as well. As the leaders met, there was a palpable sense of resolve. They knew that the Empire's retreat was only a temporary relief. The threat of future attacks was real, and the world needed to be prepared. Plans were made to enhance Earth's defenses and to collaborate on a global scale to ensure that they would be ready for any new challenges. The people of Earth, inspired by the bravery and sacrifice of their defenders, began to work together in new and meaningful ways. Communities came together to support one another, helping to rebuild damaged areas and providing aid to those affected by the conflict. The sense of solidarity was strong, and people from all walks of life volunteered their time and resources to help in the recovery efforts. Schools and media outlets played a key role in fostering this new sense of unity. They emphasized the importance of working together and highlighted stories of courage and cooperation. Educational programs were developed to teach future generations about the importance of global cooperation and resilience. The narrative of the battle became a symbol of what humanity could achieve when they put aside their differences and worked as one. In the midst of this newfound unity, Earth's scientists and engineers began to collaborate on advanced technology to bolster the planet's defenses. They worked together to improve upon the innovations that had been developed during the battle. The goal was to ensure that humanity would be ready for any future threats and to make Earth's defense systems even stronger. The victory over the Empire had not only been a military triumph, but also a turning point in human history. The realization that their combined efforts could overcome even the most daunting challenges had left a lasting impact. Humanity now saw itself as a single, interconnected entity, rather than a collection of separate nations. As Earth's cities began to recover and rebuild, there was a renewed sense of hope and purpose. The scars of the battle would take time to heal, but the unity that had emerged from the conflict was a powerful force for positive change. People looked forward to a future where they could live in peace and security, knowing that they had the strength to face any challenge together. The aftermath of the battle also led to increased cooperation between Earth and other civilizations. Diplomatic efforts were strengthened, and new treaties were formed to ensure that humanity's newfound alliances would be maintained. The experience had taught them the value of working together, not just in times of war, but in times of peace as well. In the end, the battle had been a catalyst for profound change. Humanity had united in the face of a common threat, and that unity had become a cornerstone of their future. The world had come together to defend their planet and to build a better, more cooperative future. The legacy of the battle was not just in the victory over the Empire, but in the strength and solidarity that had been forged in the fire of conflict. The retreat of the Galactic Empire had marked the beginning of their downfall. The once mighty empire, which had believed itself invincible, was now facing a severe crisis. The defeat at Earth had been a massive blow, and the effects were spreading throughout their vast territories. The empire was falling apart, and the signs of its collapse were becoming increasingly apparent. In the empire's capital, chaos reigned. The streets, once bustling with the confident stride of imperial officers and dignitaries, were now filled with panic and confusion. The news of the defeat at Earth had reached every corner of the empire, and the once feared leadership was now struggling to maintain control. The central command, which had directed the invasion with absolute authority, was now at a loss. The empire's leaders held emergency meetings, their faces marked by worry and frustration. The defeat had exposed weaknesses in their grand plans, and the loss of their command ship had severely disrupted their operations. The empire's once unified front was now fractured, with factions forming and disputes breaking out among the high-ranking officials. The empire's military was in disarray. The loss of key ships and resources had left their fleet severely weakened. Soldiers and officers who had once been proud and confident were now demoralized. The defeat had shattered their belief in the invincibility of their forces. As the reality of their situation sank in, many began to question their leadership and the decisions that had led to the catastrophic defeat. Meanwhile, in the outer regions of the empire, reports of unrest and rebellion were emerging. The once subjugated planets, which had been kept in line through fear and oppression, saw an opportunity to break free. Rebel factions, inspired by the humans' victory, began to rise up against the Empire's rule. The Empire's attempts to suppress these uprisings only seemed to fuel the fires of rebellion. In the Empire's command centers, the mood was one of desperation. The leaders, realizing that their grip on power was slipping, issued frantic orders to regain control. They tried to regroup their forces and launch counterattacks, but their efforts were hampered by the ongoing rebellions and the crumbling infrastructure of their empire. The Empire's attempts to salvage their situation only seemed to worsen their problems. The internal strife within the Empire became more pronounced. Different factions within the leadership began to vie for power, each blaming the others for the failure at Earth. The once cohesive command structure was now fragmented, with competing agendas and a lack of clear direction. The power struggles further weakened the Empire's ability to respond effectively to the growing chaos. As the situation continued to deteriorate, the Empire's control over its territories began to erode. Planetary governors and military commanders, sensing the opportunity for independence, declared their own autonomy. The once mighty empire was now a shell of its former self, with its territories fragmenting and its authority diminishing. The news of the empire's collapse reached Earth, where the people watched with a mix of satisfaction and relief. The victory had not only secured their planet, but also contributed to the downfall of their would-be conquerors. The humans, once on the brink of destruction, had played a crucial role in bringing down one of the galaxy's most powerful empires. As the empire fell apart, Earth's leaders remained vigilant. They knew that while the immediate threat was over, the galaxy was still a dangerous place. The lessons learned from the conflict had strengthened their resolve to remain united and prepared for any future challenges. The collapse of the empire was a significant victory, but it also marked the beginning of a new era of uncertainty and opportunity. The empire's fall was a dramatic end to a conflict that had tested the limits of human resilience and strength. The once feared empire, now in ruins, had been brought down by the combined efforts of Earth's defenders and the rebellious spirit of the galaxy's oppressed worlds. The legacy of the battle was not just in the defeat of a powerful enemy, but in the new era of hope and possibility that it had ushered in. As the remnants of the empire struggled to maintain their fading control, the galaxy looked to the future with a renewed sense of possibility. The fall of the empire was a powerful reminder that even the greatest powers could be brought down by determination, unity, and the unyielding spirit of those who refused to be conquered. The collapse of the Galactic Empire had been swift and severe. As the remnants of their once mighty fleet limped away from Earth, the reality of their situation was becoming undeniable. The Empire, once the dominant force in the galaxy, was now facing the inevitable. Surrender. In the Empire's capital, the mood was one of despair. The leaders, who had once been sure of their superiority, were now grappling with the extent of their defeat. The grand halls of power, which had echoed with confidence and authority, were now filled with quiet murmurs and defeated looks. The Empire's grand plans had fallen apart, and the leaders knew that their time was running out. The final blow to the Empire's resolve came when several key systems and planets declared their independence. The rebellions that had started in the outer regions had now spread to the core worlds. The Empire's ability to enforce its rule was crumbling, and the leaders were faced with the harsh reality that they could no longer control their vast territories. In a desperate attempt to salvage what little remained of their empire, the leaders called for a ceasefire. They hoped that by negotiating, they could at least preserve some of their influence and avoid total destruction. The galaxy, however, had grown tired of the Empire's tyranny and was not inclined to show mercy. On Earth, the news of the Empire's ceasefire offer was met with cautious optimism. The people had fought hard and sacrificed much, and they were eager to see an end to the conflict. The leaders of Earth, understanding the importance of securing a lasting peace, agreed to enter into negotiations with the Empire. The negotiations were tense and difficult. The Empire's representatives, once proud and imposing, now appeared defeated and humbled. They knew that their position was weak and that they had little leverage in the talks. The human representatives, on the other hand, were firm but fair. They were determined to ensure that the peace terms would prevent any future threats. The final agreement was a turning point. The Empire officially surrendered and agreed to a series of terms designed to ensure that they could no longer pose a threat to Earth or its allies. The terms included the dismantling of their remaining fleet, the withdrawal of their forces from occupied planets, and a commitment to never engage in hostile actions against Earth or its allies again. The surrender of the Galactic Empire was a moment of triumph for humanity. The once feared empire, which had sought to conquer and dominate, was now a shadow of its former self. The galaxy was now free from their oppressive rule, and Earth's defenders had secured a lasting peace. The news of the Empire's surrender spread quickly throughout the galaxy. For many, it was a moment of celebration. The oppressive regime that had cast a dark shadow over countless worlds was finally gone. The people of Earth and their allies looked forward to a future without the threat of the Empire looming over them. In the aftermath of the surrender, Earth's leaders focused on rebuilding and strengthening their alliances. They knew that the peace they had achieved was fragile and that they needed to remain vigilant. The lessons learned from the conflict had strengthened their resolve to work together and to ensure that the galaxy would never again face such a dire threat. The fall of the Galactic Empire marked the end of a chapter in galactic history. It was a testament to the strength and resilience of humanity and their allies. The victory was not just about defeating a powerful enemy. It was about proving that unity and determination could overcome even the greatest challenges. As the Empire faded into history, the galaxy looked to the future with hope and anticipation. The once feared Empire was now a cautionary tale of hubris and overreach. The new era was one of rebuilding, cooperation, and the promise of a brighter future for all who had once lived under the Empire's shadow. Humanity had emerged from the conflict stronger and more united. The peace that followed was a hard-won victory, and it was a reminder of the power of resilience and the importance of standing together in the face of adversity.